So, Disney Plus put Guardians of the Galaxy 3 up on streaming, and I watched it yesterday. I had a really good time with this. In fact, I was a really big fan of the first Guardians of the Galaxy and not such a big fan of the second. The films all around it in the Marvel universe have been of fluctuating quality, but I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy has had a really good sense of direction in terms of its characters, and this might be my favourite out of the three. They really knew what they were doing with this one. I think from the get-go, from the first time Guardians of the Galaxy came out, anyone has wanted to know what the origins of Rocket were and why he's such a tortured soul. And this basically focuses on that. And it's really well done. His relationship, everything that goes on around him is really well directed. The emotions are really right, and it could have very easily been wrong. This sort of setup that they create where he is like being experimented on and then he's locked away with other animals who have been experimented on could have been really hokey and really crap. It turned out really good. I also feel like this is possibly the most inventive sci-fi I've seen in a long time in terms of ideas. There's a lot of ideas that are a bit silly. The director, James Gunn, has a great grasp on these characters and is able to really skirt the line between silly storylines. Some of it's very convenient, but then it very quickly goes over to the character development and saves itself from those silly moments. So there are moments in the film where I was like, oh, that's oddly convenient that they've figured that out so quickly. I think they're aware of that and they focus on the characters and developing those character relationships. I think the relationships here are absolutely on point because you've got Gamora, but it's not the Gamora we know. It's past Gamora who's been brought in. And so there's no relationship there with her and Quill. And it's really well dealt with. For a split second, I thought they were going to go down the road of their relationship blossoming again, but it didn't tread that road, and I applaud the film for that because it sent the message really, really well of that those two characters don't need each other, that Quill doesn't need her and she doesn't need him, and they both have their own worlds, and I think that's dealt with really, really well. Drax is so funny in this film, but also gets this understanding of like who he is and gets this moment of recognition in the film, and it's really powerful actually. I think every character in this film, which is a testament to the filmmaker, it has their moment to shine. Yeah, it's really powerful. I honestly felt myself really absorbed with this. They go to this kind of bio space station, and it's quite inventive and a bit gross, but it had reminiscences of like The Fifth Element, like in terms of the ridiculous costumes and how over the top it was, but it was kind of self-aware of that. When they're in that environment, I had such a great time with it. It's so bright and so colourful. The action's really good. The special effects are very good in here as well. I just had a really good time with this. Again, Guardians of the Galaxy has a great soundtrack as well, and they've chosen some good songs. They've dipped a bit more into the modern age, and that's highlighted by the fact he's got this kind of MP3, like almost futuristic looking MP3 player, but it's like he's playing loads of early 2000s. There's a bit of Radiohead and stuff in there. So that's kind of cool that they obviously had to drop it at some point, that it was just all 80s harkening back. That kind of thing gets old, and I think they realised that and have updated it a bit and made it more interesting. Additionally, the bad guy's really compelling and is very well connected to the history of the Guardians of the Galaxy. It's bedded in really well. They take time with introducing him. And even though he's a complete maniac, he's really engaging and really entertaining. And the actor who played him is really off the wall and so much fun to watch. I think this is a great watch. It's certainly the best Marvel film I've seen in a long time, because I feel like personally they've been dropping the ball of late. Marvel movies sometimes, more often than not, feel like they need to interconnect, that you need to know about all the other films around them. Guardians of the Galaxy stands on its own. Volume 3 is no different. I feel like all three of these films are a great watch together, and you don't need any context outside of them to enjoy these thoroughly. Obviously, a little bit of bullshit there, because the whole Gamora thing happens in Endgame, and so you need to see Infinity War and Endgame to understand that part of the story. But everything else, you don't need it. And I really liked that. Like, it didn't have some kind of thing at the end where it was trying to connect to something outside of the universe that we've been in, the story we've been in. The backstory of this film is the fact that James Gunn had to fight his corner to direct this film, and I'm so glad that he did. He's an inventive director that has really great ideas that are far out. Like, there were things that came up in this film, and I was just like, I would never in a million years think of that premise and the way that they came up with stuff like with the fleshy kind of space station. Even though it felt weird, it was really daft but really well executed. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, it's on Disney Plus now, so if you have Disney Plus, go and watch it. Yeah, I thought it was a really good time and very much worth sitting down and having a go with. If you like this video, please leave a like, comment below if you've seen the film and what you thought of it, and I'll see you on the next one.